in 10 seconds. Right at 7. It'll be the most timely meeting opening ever.
Okay, all set? Okay, so welcome to the Wednesday, June 17th, 2020 meeting of the Mashpee Planning Board. The Mashpee Planning Board will be meeting tonight remotely by remote participation pursuant to Massachusetts Governor Charles D. Baker's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law dated March 12, 2020. Mashpee Town Hall is closed to the public, and no in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. But the public can listen to and or view this meeting by remote participation by calling in conference number 508-539-1400, extension 8585, or by watching the live broadcast on Mashpee TV on local channel 18. It's also being streamed live on the Town of Mashpee website, which is www.mashpeema.gov/channel-18. So the chair at this time would like to confirm quorum by roll call vote. Dennis Balzerini.
Here.
Joe Cummings.
Here.
Jack Phelan.
Here.
Joe Callahan.
Present.
Mary Wagan here. Rob Hanson.
Just I think he's trying.
Would join us in a little bit. Okay, so as we have quorum, the chair opens up the Mashpee Planning Board meeting of Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. Again, we're being held remotely. And the first order of business is to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask you to rise. I pledge allegiance to the
flag
of the United States of
America.
Republic
For which it stands,
nation,
indivisible, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all.
Thank you. And I would just like to say some thanks and appreciations for Mr. Joseph P. Cummings, whose term is up with tonight's meeting. We have our local town election next Tuesday. And I just want to thank Joe for the many years of dedication and hard work on the planning board and how much I've learned and grown sitting next to him for years on the dais. So thank you, Joe. I don't know if anybody else wants to say.
Joe, I'm going to miss you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. It's been a pleasure, Joe. I'm gonna miss our little Red Sox and Patriots talks after the meeting.
Yeah.
If they ever play again.
Yeah, if they are. Well, have to meet and talk about past history.
There you go.
And just remember, Joe, you can zoom in anytime. Okay? So the next order of business is approval of minutes. We received minutes for June 3rd, 2020. Charlie Rowley added some amendments. I don't know if everybody saw the email, but the amendments were fine with me. And does anybody else have any other amendments to the minutes?
I provided Jen one just minor edit. She, in the MVP update section, she had just written CVMV as in violin. I had her change it to CZM as in zone. So just minor technical typo.
Right. If there's no other comments, I'd accept a motion to approve the minutes of June 3rd, 2020 as amended by Charlie and Evan.
So be.
That was Dennis Balzerini. Is there a second?
Joe will second.
Okay,
Callahan.
Callahan second. And let's approve them by roll call vote. Dennis Balzerini.
Yes.
Joe Cummings.
Yes.
Jack Phelan.
Abstain.
Joe Callahan.
Yes.
Mary Wagan, yes. Okay, and I just want to let everybody know that Rob Hanson has joined the meeting. Hi, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, all, and good luck, Joe, in your future endeavors, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Okay, Okay, the next item is approval not required. The applicant is Saconet Realty Trust and Paul and Donna Gardner. The location is 4 and 8 Saconet Drive, Mashpee. Assessors map 58, parcels 23 and 29. The request is to create 2 new registered unbuildable lots with court-assigned numbers 2200 and 2202 along the shore of Johns Pond. So I'd like to, at this time, recognize the applicant, and I see that his name is Steve.
Thank you.
Hi, Steve. For the record, why don't you give Jen your full name, please?
Steve, did you hear the chair?
Yep. Yes. Thank you. My name is Steve Doyle. I prepared this approval not required before you tonight. Number 4 is number 8, the Connett Drive, south of Algonquin, on the south side of Johns Pond. The court has issued fee in Seconnett Road adjacent to these 2 lots. And we're just trying to get this in a plan format now so we can define that fee. We're creating the 2 new unbuildable lots, 1,700 square feet and just over 2,000 square feet, so that we can move this forward with the court.
So what lots are you creating?
2199 and 2200.
Okay.
Number 8 is 2199, and across from house number 4 is 2200.
Hey, I really don't have any comments. Charlie, have you looked at this?
Yeah, we talked about it a couple of times. I'm satisfied with what they're doing. I'm sure that whatever rights are in both those 2 lots, even though the fee is going to the abutting owners, I'm sure it's probably subject to rights of others to pass and repass, whatever it might have been at one time. The plan does show an old dash line going through lot 2043. That's the big one on the left, house number 8. Steve has assured me that that was something that was done by the land court a while ago. So the fact that there is a house with a dash line going through it that was actually for an adjacent roadway is of no significance. So I have no problem with the plan at all.
Any board members have any comments?
No comment.
You're not. So I have a question. Who owned these lots before you made them?
I didn't get all of that question. I'm sorry.
He said, what were the lots before you carved them out?
These 3 lots have the paved frontage along Seconnett Road, and it ends at house number 8 there. That's the end of the pavement. There's no access beyond that. So that's been paved since these lots were built some time ago.
Steve, I think Joe's question was, who owned the lots before you created them?
Or who owned the lots before we created them?
Yeah.
Difficult question to answer. The court determined that fee would be granted to these owners. Prior to that, I expect that it was shared with those who may have access to the roadway.
Yeah.
To Charlie's comment on the language, when fee was issued, I'm sure this will reflect the same on the certificate. All persons lawfully entitled thereto in and over the same shall continue to have those rights.
Yeah.
So anyone that has rights to access would continue to have. This plan would merely define what the court has allowed to be in the roadway.
that answer your question?
No, I just, another question is that, was your property considered waterfront property before you decided to do this? And now it's not going to be waterfront property?
No, it would continue to be waterfront property.
Okay. So I guess, so you won't have a change in assessment if that's the reason that it's being done?
No. If there were any change in assessment, it would be going up, not down. I suspect.
Okay.
But no, that was not the purpose. Change assessment.
All right. I'm satisfied.
Yeah. Joe, the fact that these two lots actually abut the pond probably meant that the people that owned these lots, lot with the house number 8 and house number 4, because there was a pond on the opposite side of the road, they probably owned to the pond anyway. But I think what the land court is doing is simply defining it so that it's clear that they have the fee ownership, but they are not taking away the rights of anybody, since that was a road and still would be a road, but it's simply in their ownership now. So nothing has really changed. They're simply defining who owns what there. So it's not an issue that changes anything with respect to, in my view at least, with respect to assessment or access or anything like that. It stays the same as it always was.
Okay.
Any other questions from other board members?
No.
Seeing none, I'd accept a motion that this plan is an approval not required.
So be, from Dennis.
Is there a second on that?
Joe seconded.
Joe Cummings second. Okay, thank you.
Cummings.
All right, and so my roll call vote, Dennis Balzerini,
Yes.
Joe Cummings,
Yes.
Jack Phelan,
Yes.
Joe Callahan,
Yes.
Mary Wagon, yes. Okay. And then our certificate allowing Evan Lair as town planner to sign this is still in effect. So that will be signed by Evan on our behalf.
Thank you.
And now, yeah, and I think, Evan, that paperwork that you had registered, that authorization for you, was that recorded in land court as well as the registry of deeds?
It's recorded in the Barnstable Land Court District.
So just, yeah, so as long as it's recorded with the same place that they're taking the A&R, that will be good.
And the appropriate language has been added to that.
So I think that matter is done.
Thank you, Steve. I'll have the Mylar endorsed for your pickup. I'll give you a call to coordinate pickup
Thanks,
tomorrow.
Steve. Okay. So,
Thank you.
Good night.
we have no new business. We have no old business. The old business, Evan, I didn't know if you got in touch with the new owners of South Cape Village. And
Okay. We received, do you want to finish before I jump in? Okay, we did, I submitted a letter to them after our last meeting, and after submitting that letter, we got a quick response that the sale
I
is no
can't
longer
hear
on.
you. What?
Pick up the phone, Evan.
After submitting a letter to them, can you hear me?
Yep.
After submitting a letter to them, they replied very promptly and notified the board that they are no longer pursuing the sale and the extension is no longer required, so the transfer of the special permit isn't necessary at this time.
Okay, then I won't ask you to put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
It will be. I will include the correspondence in the packet just because we received it yesterday after we stamped in the agenda.
That's great. Okay. So chairman's report. So we had an advertised public hearing. I think it was supposed to open up today, right, Evan?
Yes.
And something happened with the abutter notices, so we had to re-advertise and make sure the abutter notices got out. So when does the public hearing start?
It'll be at our next meeting, July 1st.
Okay. And what I'm assuming is that we'll be able to tell who's waiting online in our conference line in order to take public comment?
That's right. The number advertised on our agenda will go to a phone in this room or forward it to my cell phone, and we can take calls on my phone, and I'll hold it up to the speaker phone so that people can participate in that manner. I'll probably have Patty join me at that meeting to help with any backlog.
Okay, good. And do you want us to take a formal vote to open up that public hearing next meeting at 7:10?
I received no objections from the board, but if you'd like to take the vote, I'm okay with that. I received no objections from the board on the rescheduling, but if you'd feel more comfortable taking a vote, that's fine.
Yeah, let's do that. So, what date is it?
July 1st, 7:10.
Yep. So, I'd accept a motion to open to set that public hearing for Willow Bend. Is it?
Southwest Mashpee Properties, LLC.
Okay. For July 1st at 7:10.
So be, Dennis.
Is there a second?
Second, Jack.
Okay. By roll call vote, Dennis Balzerini,
Yes.
Joe Cummings,
Yes.
Jack Phelan,
Yes.
Joe Callahan,
Yes.
Mary Wagon, yes. Okay, good. And everybody can come on July 1st? Everybody's good? Okay.
Yep.
I think I may miss that.
Oh, Joe.
Good, so that's all done. All right. And then we have a town planner report regarding Cape Cod Coffee update and discussion. We have two correspondents in our package. But Evan, why don't you go ahead and tell us what's going on? And you have to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
If I pick up the phone, is it going to mess it up? No, see, they won't be able to hear you if I pick up the phone. So I got to put it back on speaker. But can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Ah.
So I have this, I requested this on the agenda. Cape Cod Coffee is nearing completion of their construction over at Evergreen Circle. Last week, I received a phone call from the abutter across the street who had some concerns about, he had witnessed some tree clearing occurring on the site in the area that he had believed was to remain in its naturally vegetated state. I followed up on his phone call that he had made to the building department, and they had notified me. I drove by, and there did appear to be some tree cutting beyond where the surveyors had staked the area. So I had called Charlie and requested that he looked into what was a potential violation of the permit. Charlie agreed to make that inspection, so you'll see a report of what Charlie had found on the ground. After Charlie submitted that report and was sent to the board, I also shared it with the property owner and gave them an opportunity to respond. So that's the basis for my request to Charlie to go check out the site, and I might hand it off to him if that's okay with the chair to brief you on his inspection.
Yeah, Mary, I went to the site there, as I said in my letter of June 11th. I made actually taped measurements to the toe of the slope that's in front of the building, based on the location of the building. I'm assuming that the building is where it was supposed to be, according to the site plan. But I used the front porch that is on site as a basis for my measurements, scaling the location of the porch off of the approved plan, and then took the measurements myself out in the field with a tape. And I found that the toe of the slope is right about at the limit of clearing the way that it was shown on the original plan. It basically is at the 100-foot setback from the center line of Route 130, which is where it ought to be. In the middle of that slope, there's the remains of a pitch pine. It was probably about 10 inches tall or 10 inches around. It had been cut off several feet above the ground. The stub was still there. I don't know that you really can't see it in either one of the photographs, but they were going to take that down anyway, cut the remainder of it down. And instead of there being a retaining wall where they had proposed it on the plan, you'll recall that back in January they presented another plan to replace the retaining wall with a stockade fence. However, the stockade fence is going to be located at the top of the slope, which will be several feet back from that 100-foot setback. So what will be in its place will be a sloped area that will be loamed and seeded with the fence sitting at the top. Do you all have the copies of the pictures that I sent?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. The first picture I took right from opposite what I tried to get right at basically opposite the toe of the slope. And you'll notice that there's a cleared area that's in front, sort of all scuffed up, and there's a little bit of grass there. There's some construction stuff on the right, and there's some brush and so forth just behind the construction materials. That area right there, I believe, was open at the time that they built Evergreen Circle. The area, though, that is between where the fence will go and that area that is right at the edge of the brush, it looks like a ramp that goes up there.
Yeah.
That is within the area that was supposed to be kept natural. The explanation I got was that they needed to do that in order to get the fill in for the slope. I think that's a question of logistics and timing rather than trying to find a way to get it there, because if they knew from the beginning the stuff had to be there, they might have been able to plan it a little better around the edge of the porch and the overhang of the building. That being said, the site contractor told me that he did not cut trees in that area, but he simply grubbed the ground that was there. There was some underbrush and things that he pulled out to put the fill in. He did say that when they're ready to loam and seed everything, that material will be taken out. I have no idea where what appears to be tree branches on that first picture, where that came from. There's no evidence of it having been taken out close to Evergreen Circle, and I can't tell whether it was in the vicinity of where the slope is. There's no evidence one way or the other. So clearly there's, technically speaking, I think there's a violation of the area that was shown on the site plan is to be left in its natural state. So I guess it's up to the board as to how you want to deal with that. When you look at the second picture, the sloped area is much more pronounced, and you can see really what it looks like. And the edge of the brush, which is at the far edge of the sandy spot there, as you can see in the middle of the picture, that's about where the clearing was when Evergreen Circle was built. But that slope that's to the right and through the trees is what would have to come out. And all that material that's up against the trees that look like they've got a couple of feet of fill against them,
Yeah.
that would all have to be pulled out of there.
Right.
So the question remains is how you want to handle the revegetation of the area that's between, say, the flat slope at the top and the area that appears to be exposed from when they built Evergreen. A suggestion in my letter was that maybe there should be some sort of a plan put together that says, okay, we're going to put X number of trees in here, X number of shrubs, loam and seed for the rest of it, or whatever. Years ago, Dennis, you may remember that when they did Windchime, there was a temporary road that was built between Great Neck Road South and their entrance once you go around the loop to the right, next to the post office.
Yeah.
They came through after that with a plan that showed the trees to put back in, and I guess today you can't even tell it was there.
Right. I go up there a lot. But
Yeah.
So that's what we should make them do, and definitely take the dirt around those trees.
Yeah, and he knows that. But we talked about that, and he agrees that anything that's around them that deep has got to come out, otherwise it'll kill the tree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, right, but does it say that in his letter of June 15th? Because it just says they're going to revegetate. They don't say that they're going to remove that extra fill.
Well, they're going to have to in order to revegetate, and I was told that myself by the contractor.
They've communicated the same to me.
They don't say it in this letter specifically, but yeah, that's what they're going to have to do.
Or they're gonna have to put a well around the trees, and they're not gonna do that.
I don't think there's enough material there to warrant that, Dennis. I think they can probably take it out and meet the sloping requirements and meet the clearing requirements without doing that.
Yeah.
It does say in section 2 that they planned on, and the exact quote in the last sentence is, that any disturbed area resulting from the construction development would be returned to their prior natural state once completed. So they do say they're going to return it to the natural state.
Yeah, but does that mean they're going to put trees there?
Just plant trees on disturbed area. You know, there's another step in there. It's removing that excess fill so that those trees don't die. And I think I'd accept a motion to clearly send that message to them through our town engineer that we expect that fill as part of that process to be removed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You want to make a motion to that effect, Dennis?
So be.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So is there any discussion on that?
I just want to say, I mean, it does say it in there that they're going to return it to their natural state. I would assume that means it's going to be, they have to be removed because you can't put it to the natural state if you leave that sand in there.
Right.
So,
and the contractor attested that to Charlie, correct?
Yes, he did.
But you didn't put it in writing. So just to be, like, really clear, that's all. It's not a punitive, it's not punitive, it's just to be really clear that we expect that extra fill to be removed soon.
Yeah. If there aren't any more questions on that particular item with respect to Cape Cod Coffee, just for your edification.
Oh, Charlie, so I've got a motion on the floor.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mary.
So if everybody's ready to vote, Dennis Balzerini?
Yes.
Joe Cummings?
Yes.
Jack Phelan?
yes.
Joe Callahan?
Yes, to reiterate, yes.
Mary Wagon, yes. Okay. So, Charlie, does Evan or Charlie want to convey that to them?
I can do that, Mary.
Okay.
One of the other things I was just going to tell you was that when I was there, I was told that they put a sidewalk back on the site, on the face of the building that's facing Evergreen Circle. In that plan that they brought into you back in January, for cost-cutting purposes, they were going to eliminate that sidewalk, which I think you approved them doing. But it turns out that when the contractor went to set the grades up, because of the elevation of the floor and the elevation of the driveway, they couldn't make it work. So what they ended up doing was preparing that entire area the way it was on the original site plan, and they plan on installing the sidewalk back again. And it'll have a 6-inch raised curb along the edge. That won't have any impact on turning radius or anything like that, because the curbing will be right up against the parking spaces. So there's no issue with that. So
that's funny. I went by the other day, and I said, I didn't think that sidewalk was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Looking at it, and they said, oh, maybe it was.
Yeah.
That's
well,
funny.
I was a little surprised when I went there too, Dennis, for other reasons, because I drove into the place and there's binder all down, and no one had ever called me to get the base approved or talk about the binder and so forth. Well, again, the contractor said, "Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to call anybody." Well, we had a little talk about that, and we went over a couple of other things that are on the site, which will need to be addressed at some point before we can say that the project is completed in accordance with the site plan. So it involves some drainage things that they've done. Apparently, Atlantic Design has been there. They did some inspection. They had another outfit come in to do compaction tests and so forth, which they presumably have documentation for. And so I've asked them to produce the documentation for the record. So That's about where we are. I expect that I'll be hearing from them in the next week or 10 days to go out there and look at the top coat going on the pavement and see what they've done about the minor items that need to be addressed in the drainage areas.
So, Charlie, they changed the plan with the sidewalk.
They went back to the original approval.
Original.
So,
That we approved it.
right, but then we approved the plan afterwards, right?
Yeah, but I think you called it a minor modification.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And how do we document in the file that they went back to the original? Just
I would say you just address it with your acknowledgement tonight.
okay.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
do you think we should make a motion and vote on that?
Your choice, Mary.
So we went back to the original plan we approved? Sure.
For the sidewalk?
That we approved
I will
originally?
say, I'm glad they
That we
did the
wanted?
sidewalk. I'm glad they did the
I'm
sidewalk.
so glad they did it for safety reasons, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we even have to do anything.
Okay. That's
I don't
good.
think so either.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Charlie?
No, that's it.
Evan, anything else on this matter?
That's it. I appreciate you going out there, Charlie.
Yep, not a problem.
Thank you,
All
Charlie.
right.
No, I'm glad I did because I was able to clear up a couple of things with the contractor.
That's great. All right, so that closes that item. We have correspondence. I note that because of COVID-19, there's certain monitoring, wastewater monitoring that does not have to happen. So that's the case for South Cape Village. And if there's no other matters, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Geez, that was...
Joe Cummings, do you want to do the second?
Yep.
Okay. By roll call vote, Dennis Balzerini,
Yes.
Joe Cummings,
Yes.
Jack Phelan,
It was nice working with you, Joe. Jack Phelan, yes.
Joe Callahan,
Yes, thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Terry Wagon,
My
yes.
pleasure.
Joe, I'm gonna miss you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll miss you too.
Cold Wednesday nights in the middle of the winter, I'm sure.
Be good, Joe. It's been
All
nice
right,
working with you.
Good night,
Okay.
everybody. Thank you.
Joe.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.